Good morning, church. We're going to be in Psalm 40 today. If you got your Bibles, you can turn there. I know summer's a time where we kind of travel around and we're in and out. I'll tell you, God has been working here at Real Life. I love that we're in multiple services, yet one of the downsides is that you don't get to see everything that happens in each of the services. And so the next service, at the 10:30 service, we got our baptism happening right over here. And this is the 17th week in a row we will have baptisms here at Real Life. Yeah, it's incredible. Love what God's doing, that we get to celebrate people's next steps through baptism. Last week, if you missed it, you need to go back and listen to all three sermons that we had. We had students up here teaching last week on this stage, and they did incredibly well. We get to sit under a 16-year-old teaching, a 17-year-old teaching, and a 19-year-old teaching. And I was better for the way that they brought the truth to us. So if you didn't catch that, go back and listen to it. But today, we're kicking off a new/old series. We did this series last summer, and it was really, really good. We call it Summer in the Psalms. Psalms if you've not read them before, they force you to slow down a little bit. Psalms is a different kind of literature called wisdom literature. So there's all kinds of different genres throughout the scriptures that you'll notice, but Psalms falls in the wisdom literature. So that's Job and Psalm, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, are all written to help us navigate through the world. Because look, right now, culture is pulling us in so many different directions. We are constantly bombarded with endless opinions and chaos and busyness. And the Psalms beckon us to slow down, to look up, and to anchor our souls in something deeper than what the world offers. So over the next few weeks, we're going to be spending time in this book. Today, we're going to be in Psalm 40, and we're not even going to be able to get through all of it. So we're going to move slowly through it as we learn what God has for us. You can't really speed read through the book of Psalms and expect to get anything out of it. You can read it slowly and soak in and see what God has for you. It is summer, and so a lot of us are taking road trips. Anybody taking a road trip this summer? You're already tired just thinking about the road trips that you're taking. If you've been on a road trip with kids, you know that it's about 5 minutes into a 12-hour road trip when you start to hear it in the back seat. Somebody says, "Hey, are we there yet?" Or how much longer is it going to take? And you cringe because you know that it's going to be about every 15 to 20 minutes until you get there. They're going to continue to ask, "How much longer? Are we there yet? Are we almost there?" And it's the same way in your car as it is in ours. I remember, so I grew up in Clarksville, and we'd go to Opryland over the summer, and I loved it. It's from here to Opryland, it's about, 45 minutes? I promise you that felt like 45 hours when I was a kid. And so I was constantly going, all right, how close are we? Are we almost there? Waiting isn't fun or easy or natural. In our car, we play this game called Yellow Car. So the rules are very complicated. If you see a yellow car, you point at the yellow car and you get 1 point if you are the first one to see the yellow car. And then whoever has the most points at the end when we arrive wherever we're going, you win. We're simple people. But for you, that actually may be the most powerful thing that you get out of this entire sermon, is because now you're going to have a little peace and quiet while you're moving to your next destination. Waiting isn't easy, and it's not fun, and it's not natural, and we tend to not do it very well. Waiting feels like wasting, doesn't it? It feels like we're not being productive, we're not going anywhere, we're just spinning our wheels, we're waiting for what's next, or we're waiting until we're unstuck. And sometimes the longer we wait, the more we begin to wonder, has God forgotten me? Is he listening? Like, what if this season that I'm in never ends? Because if you've been in that season for a prolonged period of time, you may feel like it's never going to be over. We hate waiting because in waiting, we feel powerless. We can't control the timeline. We can't fast forward it. We can't fix it. And we begin to wonder, is God just being silent, or maybe even worse, is God absent? Like, is he not even present anymore? Does he not care with what I'm walking through right now? Psalm 40, though, shows us that God is never inactive, even when we feel like we're going nowhere. Waiting feels like wasting when we don't understand what God is doing. So here's what we're going to look at today in Psalm 40. We're going to look not just at how do we wait, but what is God doing while we are in seasons of waiting and seasons of longing for what's next and seasons of longing just to be done with whatever we're walking through right now. Psalm 40, verse 1 says this, I waited patiently for the Lord. So it tells us that this is a psalm of David. So David was the king. You know the stories of David, of David killing Goliath, of David rising to power. And what we're going to notice here is that David's walking through something that's really challenging. And so we're talking about waiting today, and how do we wait well? How do we sit in this tension of we're here and we know we want to get here, but we're not there yet. We have to wait patiently. Patiently implies that we're waiting with humility. Waiting patiently means that we're trusting that God is in control and that we're not. That God has more of the details and a bigger picture than we have. So to wait patiently means we have to put our pride to the side and say, God, maybe you know better than I do what the best next step is. Maybe you think you're good at waiting. Like you think, waiting is not challenging for me. But how many of you at the grocery store, like as you're pushing the buggy ready to check out, you're eyeing the lanes and you're going, all right, that cashier looks like he's going to check out a little faster than the other one, so I'm going to pick this lane, and then you get frustrated when the one beside you moves faster. Or maybe when you're driving, like you're coming up to I already see the elbows going in here. You're driving up to the red light and you're gaming it. Going, all right, the left lane looks like it only has 2 cars, right lane has 3, and then you're laughing at those slow people in the right lane who are stuck at the light. We can't wait at the grocery store. We can't wait while we're driving at a red light. We're really no better when it comes to our digital world either. Do you know that the average person will wait 2 seconds for a website to load? And if it doesn't load in 3, they'll just dump it and go to the next site. 3 seconds. Studies show that 1 in 5 people will abandon a video if it doesn't load in 5 seconds. So give it a hard 5 count, and then you're just going to the next video. We don't have patience there. Studies also show that if someone doesn't respond to your text within 10 minutes, most of us begin to feel anxious. Like we have symptoms of anxiety if somebody doesn't respond to our text message within 10 minutes. 150 million Americans have access to this. Some of you have access to the room and you're still on your parents' account and you need to get your own account. 150 million people have access to this. And you know the primary reason? It's so that you can get free 2-day shipping. This changed the way that we think about shipping and our expectations of how long it should take a package to arrive at our house. And not just 2 days, now they've instituted free same-day shipping. So if I can't order something and get it here like in an hour, then it's not quick enough. Like something's wrong. We can't wait for a package to arrive. It used to take a week, and now it takes 2 days, and now I really want it today. We want what we want, and we want it now. So David calls us to wait patiently, and everything in our society is saying, wait patiently. You don't have time for that. You've got other things that you've got to be doing. See, we live in a microwave society, yet we serve a crock-pot God. We want everything right now, but God is calling us to slow down. God walks at his own pace. He doesn't bend to our schedules or our timelines or our demands. He works at his pace, and his pace is good. So if we want to wait well, and I don't know what's in front of you, but if you want to wait well, you have to wait patiently. We have to acknowledge that God is in control, and his timing and his purpose are what's best. That said, David doesn't just, I don't know what comes to mind when you think about waiting patiently. Maybe you just think about like sitting there. Like your parents told you, hey, we're going to be here in 3 hours to wherever we're going. And so waiting patiently for you just means I got to sit here and be quiet. But that's not exactly how David waited patiently. Let's keep reading. I waited patiently for the Lord. He inclined to me and heard my cry. So God heard David's cry. He was crying so loudly and so persistently that the Lord heard him. Friends, if you are walking through something, petition the Lord. Cry out to him. David was known for his tears. Psalm 6:6 says, I'm weary with my mourning. Every night I flood my bed with tears. I drench my couch with weeping. Some of you have been there. You've been there because the season has persisted and you're not sure when it's going to be over, and so you begin crying. And maybe for you that doesn't feel like you're waiting well. I'm telling you, if you are crying, you are waiting well, because that is how David waited patiently. Psalm 56:8 says, "Put my tears in your bottle. Are they not in your book?" Jesus picks up on this same idea of crying in Matthew 5, verse 4. He says, "Blessed are they that mourn." So if you are mourning, if you are crying, you are blessed. So we are waiting, we are crying, but the question that we started with is, okay, if we're going to wait well, we have to understand what God is doing while we're waiting. So while we are waiting, while we are crying, what is God doing? It's right there. He inclined to me. It's almost like you get this picture of like God leaning down and putting his ear close to you. He's inclining so he can hear you. Have you ever had one of your kids that is crying so hard that they can't even get a word out? They're retching, and they can't speak. And you say, "Hang on, I can't hear you," and they just. This is a beautiful picture of what you do as a parent. When they do that, you don't just send them away and say, "Go figure it out." Like, go figure out how you can talk first, and then I'll address you. Or stop crying, and then I'll deal with you. No. You bend down and you pick them up and you put their mouth beside your ear so you can hear exactly what they're saying. And they can't say it loudly and they can't say it clearly, but you want to hear exactly what they're saying because you're a good parent. And that's exactly how God does with us. He inclines his ear. So if you are at the point in the season of your life that you are crying out to the Lord, know that he hears you. So what is God doing? He is listening intently to us. He is drawing us close. He's not sending us away. He wants to hear what is burdening you. He wants to hear what is making you sad. He wants to hear what's making you anxious. He wants to hear what you want to get through. So he's pulling you close. You're waiting. You are crying out. God's listening. What's next? Let's keep reading. Psalm 40, verse 2. He drew me up from the pit of destruction, out of the miry bog, and set my feet upon a rock. There's two word pictures here that David uses. The pit of destruction and the miry bog, to describe what he's feeling and what he's walking through. The Hebrew word for pit here refers to a grave or a dungeon. This isn't just a little pothole that David kind of stumbled into. This is much, much deeper and more dangerous than that. It gives the sense that he's sinking into hopelessness. It even conjures up this idea of like being buried alive. So David is in a pit of destruction. The Hebrew word for destruction means noise and chaos. This isn't quiet at the bottom of the pit that he's in. The word destruction is used elsewhere to describe the sounds of when water is rushing over you so loud you can't even hear anything. So you get the picture now? Like David's at the bottom of this pit, and it's not a quiet pit where he can be contemplative and think. It's so loud that he can't think or see. Have you ever been in a place that's so loud you feel like you can't see? Like it's overwhelming his senses. It gets even worse. Miry bog. A bog is a place that you sink into. It's kind of like at the bottom of a lake or a pond, if you've ever it makes my skin crawl just thinking about stepping at the bottom of a lake and it just mushy down at the bottom. Well, imagine though that it's not just mushy at the bottom, but your feet begin to get stuck. And with every step you take, you actually get more and more and more stuck. It's a miry clay, slimy mud, sinking swamp. And so this is a grave of chaos where you can't think or hear or process. And every step that you take, it's like you get more and more stuck. You're not getting out with every step. Your feet are unstable, and then you eventually can't move anywhere. This is the language that David uses to describe the season of life that he's in, and we don't fully know what David was walking through. And we don't need to know what David's walking through because we've felt this in our life. Some of you have been trapped in your sin and addiction. You've been unable to free yourself no matter how hard you try. You try and try and try, but the more you try, the more stuck you end up being. Some of you are so overwhelmed by grief and depression, even getting out of the bed in the morning feels like a mountain too tall to climb. Some of you are dealing with a broken relationship. and your trust has been shattered. And for you, as you look towards the future, healing feels impossible. Some of you have been let go from a job, and you're in financial crisis mode, and every option that you look at seems to be closed, and the waiting seems endless. Some of you are sitting with a diagnosis that you just got or somebody that you love just got, and you know that if this comes to fruition, that it's going to change everything for you. That your entire life is going to change, your home is going to change, your routine is going to change. And so when we start talking about waiting, you say, I don't know how to wait because I've never had to face this before. Some of you are walking through spiritual dryness. You feel like your prayers hit heaven and just bounce right back down. And it's gone on for too long. And you're going, okay, God, I'm crying out to you. I need you to show up because I'm too dry. Some of you daily battle shame. You constantly replay the past and the past mistakes that you've made. And you can't move forward as much as you try. Others of you carry anxiety, crippling anxiety. And others of us, you've experienced betrayal, where somebody close to you has wounded you so deeply that you're just left feeling like you're trying to walk through quicksand. Whatever situation you find yourself in, this is where David found himself, stuck in a pit of destruction and a miry bog. This isn't just God saving him from having a bad day or being in a bad mood. Not that God can't save you from a bad day or from a bad mood. He can, and he does all the time, but that's not what David's talking about. David's talking about something much more dangerous and destructive. And here's what you need to know. God doesn't just meet us on the mountaintops. He pulls us out of our pit of destruction and despair. You know that God meets you on the mountaintops. We love those moments, but you should know that God doesn't just live there. He reaches down into the miry clay and pulls you out. Like a good parent, he doesn't just tell you, go figure your life out, then you can come to me. Like, stop crying, and then you can come to me. Get out of the pit, and then I'll help. We feel like God is absent, but you know what God's doing? He's securing our feet on a rock. The next part of the verse says, he sets my feet upon a rock, making my steps secure. So David is contrasting these two things. You got a miry bog where you're just sinking down and you're stuck, versus what David says is God has been preparing this rock for him to stand on and walk on. If you stand on a rock, it doesn't move underneath your feet. In fact, like, you're secure. You were insecure before in your season of waiting, and now you're secure. See, David wasn't just rescued out of the pit and then just kind of shoved over to the side and said, you can go about your life now. What David noticed and what we need to pick up on is that the entire time that we were in this pit, God was preparing security for us. He was preparing the rock for us to stand on and walk on. What else is God doing? Let's read verse 3. He put a new song in my mouth, a song of praise to our God. Many will see and fear and put their trust in the Lord. If you've ever been rescued, you know the joy that you get when you're rescued. I don't know if you have been or not, but you probably saw, this was like in 2010, there were a bunch of miners in Chile that got stuck in the mine. And the entire world was praying and hoping and watching and following along with all the updates so that they could see what was going on with these miners who were stuck down in the ground. There were 33 miners stuck for 68 days. That's a long time to be in a mine and not know if you're going to come out or not. They had to drill holes down through the rock so they could communicate with the miners down below. All 33 miners were saved. And I don't know if you remember this, but you can go back and watch some of the footage for when they came up out of the mine. It is pure joy. There's one guy that just runs around and hugs everybody he can see, like family, strangers, probably enemies before that. Like, he's just hugging everybody, which it might be weird if one of you starts doing that right now, but if you've just been rescued out of a mine for 68 days, that feels natural. Like, you're going to watch that and you're going to clap for him because, of course, that's what you should do when you're rescued. So what do we do? What do we do when we're rescued? We worship. Worship is a response to the rescue that God has done for us. This is a new song. If you've been rescued, you have a new song. But here's a challenge for us here when it comes to worship and why worship is so difficult for those of us who have either been in a pit or if you're in a pit currently. Here's the challenge for worship. Some of you are looking for rescue and joy in the same place that you lost it. So you are pulled up out of the pit, yet you continue to return to it, thinking that if you can get that resolution, you'll finally have joy. You look for joy in the same place that you were stuck, but God has rescued you out of it. He's given you not an old song, but a new song. Maybe God's rescue doesn't look like how you thought it would look, and so you've missed the fact that God pulled you out of the pit. Author Natalie Runyon says, maybe what you thought was rejection was really God's rescue mission for you. I'm going to say that again because some of you need to write that down. Maybe what you thought was rejection was really God's rescue mission for you. You thought that you were just being tossed to the side. But what God was doing was pulling you out of the pit. You thought you were being tossed, and what the enemy told you was that you didn't fit in and you weren't good enough and you weren't pretty enough or smart enough or rich enough or funny enough or spiritual enough. So the enemy said, yeah, see, you're not good enough. We're going to dispose of you over here. But really what God was doing is he was taking you out of a miry bog, because healthy plants don't grow in bogs. You know that. Healthy plants are going to grow in healthy soil. He was taking you out of this toxic culture or of a toxic community or of a toxic relationship or a toxic job, and he was putting your roots somewhere where they could actually grow and thrive. And the problem is we continue to try to run back to that bog, hoping that we'll find rescue there, hoping that we'll find joy there. But God has already rescued you out of it, and he has given you a new song. That's worth worshiping for. The pit of destruction, the miry bog, didn't give way to security like you thought it would, because God is writing a new song for you. See, you know what's significant, though, about these first 3 verses in Psalm 40? They're all talking about the past in David's life. So David is recounting how he has cried to God, and God has listened, and God showed up, and God rescued him from the pit. And then the rest of the chapter, you can go read it this afternoon. The rest of the chapter is talking about how David's in yet another pit. If you think that the Bible's not relevant to life, you should try reading it, because it's incredibly relevant. Doesn't that feel like real life? You get rescued out of one pit, you got a new song, and then suddenly you find yourself right back in a different one. That's where David found himself. Verse 13, for evils have encompassed me beyond number. This is like present tense. He's saying, evils are surrounding me right now. My iniquities have overtaken me, and I cannot see. They are more than the hairs of my head. My heart fails me. Be pleased, O Lord, to deliver me. O Lord, make haste. Like right now, make haste to help me. So how do you wait well? How do you wait well with whatever's in front of you, and you don't know what the path forward looks like, and you don't know how long this is going to last? How do you wait well? Well, you remind yourself that God's come through for you before. That's what David did. He modeled it for us. He painted the picture for us that we should remind ourselves of who God is and that he has rescued us before, and he'll do it again. And then what do? You cry out to God with all that you've got in you. And as you cry out to God, you will find him listening to you. We cry out and God listens. We surrender and God secures. We worship and God gives a new song. Friends, here's what we do. We do this again and again and again. We're practicing a new rhythm. Rhythm is what takes awkward movements and turns them into dance, right? Some of you can dance in here. I cannot. But rhythm, because you hear the music and you hear the beat and you begin to move in a way that looks beautiful. So what God is calling us to here is that, look, you're going to step into another pit. Maybe it's one that you've chosen. Maybe it's one that other people have made choices that have caused you to fall into it. What do? Remind yourself that God has shown up, and then you cry out. And as you do, God listens. You surrender and God secures. You worship and God gives you a new song. This is the rhythm of life. This is the rhythm of growth. And as God pulls you out of the miry clay, he is planting you in soil that will help you thrive in life so that as the next waiting season comes along, you can wait with joy. Will you pray with me? God, we thank you that you don't call us to wait alone. Waiting can feel lonely and it can feel pointless and it can feel powerless, yet God, you are with us in this and you hear our cry. And so God, in this place, we cry out to you because we don't know what else to do. And we're thankful that you pull us close. God, we need you in this place because life is too difficult to figure out how to step forward. So God, like David, we cry, store up our tears. Meet us in our grief, meet us in our heartache, and give us joy everlasting. God, we pray this in your strong name, in the name of Christ. Amen.